Swadeshi movement. Also on the show, we will tell you about an Indian origin MIT graduate who has now been appointed as Ohio Solicitor General, but is now being trolled for wearing a bindi. And on Gravitas tonight, we ask, why does a bindi rattle America? Well, from West Asia, we will tell you, as famine tightens its grip on Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not backing down. Rather, he is doubling down on his military strategy in Gaza. All that and a lot more lined up for you on the show tonight. Let's get you started. Well, at the beginning of the 20th century, India launched the Swadeshi movement, a bold economic resistance against the British Empire that rejected imported goods and championed local manufacturing. And that boycott wasn't just economic defiance. It would end up being one of India's defining movements towards gaining independence. And now, 120 years later, history echoes. Amid the ongoing tariff war with US President Donald Trump, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has advocated the revival of the Swadeshi movement, stressing indigenous manufacturing of goods and cultural pride which once shook the British Empire. In a recent address in Varanasi, the Prime Minister urged every Indian, from political leaders to common citizens, to buy, use and promote Indian goods.
देश का भला चाहते हैं, जो देश को तीसरे नंबर की इकोनॉमी बनाना चाहते हैं, ऐसा कोई भी राजनीतिक दल हो, कोई भी राजनेता हो, उसने अपने संकोच को छोड़ करके देश हित में हर पल, हर बार, हर जगह देशवासियों के अंदर एक भाव जगाना होगा और वो है हम स्वदेशी का संकल्प लें.
Prime Minister Modi's call comes in direct response to aggressive tariffs announced by the US President. The 25% import duty on Indian goods is set to take effect on August 7th. But experts say that these duties might damage the American economy more than India's. A report by the State Bank of India warns that Trump's tariffs could in fact backfire, describing the move as, and I'm quoting here, bad business decision. The report says the US risks shrinking its GDP, increasing inflation and weakening the dollar. On an average, American families could lose as much as $2,400 annually, and that's due to higher prices. And the impact on essential commodities could be significant as well. India exports critical items to the US, from pharmaceuticals and electronics to gems and jewelry. India, in fact, supplies nearly half of America's pharmaceutical imports. The SBI report states that even if the US tries to shift sourcing or build its own pharmaceutical capacity, it could take at least 3 to 5 years to do so. And that delay could potentially trigger drug shortages and price hikes in the American healthcare system. While the US remains India's largest trading partner, it accounts for only 20% of total exports. And the top 10 countries make up just 53% of India's exports. India's trade surplus with the US has also grown. In financial year 2013, it stood at $11 billion. And this year, it's expected to quadruple, hitting $43 billion. In just the first quarter of financial year 2025, India's surplus reached $12.7 billion, with exports to the US growing twice as fast as imports. That early export push might help Indian businesses withstand the impact of incoming tariffs. But Trump's proposed tariffs are not just targeting India. They rather form a part of a wider strategy against the BRICS bloc, which are Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. Well, BRICS has made it extremely clear that it will not come under American pressure. The group has been actively working to reduce its dependence on the US dollar, all while exploring new trade deals that bypass the US and the West altogether. And there are examples of this already. Despite enormous and relentless sanctions from the West for the ongoing Ukraine-Russia war, the Russian economy has not collapsed. In fact, it is thriving. The sanctions designed to isolate Russia have instead accelerated a global economic realignment. Russia now does more business with Asia than it ever did with Europe. And those trade links are only getting stronger at this point of time. To put it mildly, China has recently won the trade war with the US. In April, Trump hiked US tariffs on Chinese goods to 145%. China retaliated with 125% tariffs on US goods and practically halting exports of rare earth metals to the United States, impacting manufacturing of almost everything from cars to fighter jets. And Trump had no choice but to back down, cutting US tariffs on Chinese goods to 30%, while Chinese tariffs on US goods were reduced to 10%. And now, Trump's trade policies threaten to boomerang back onto the US economy. Whether it comes in the form of colonialism or American tariffs, India continues to stand firm. But one thing is clear: India will continue to grow, BRICS nations will resist, and America and Trump will find out, if they haven't already, that the world no longer takes orders from Washington, D.C. While staying with stories out of America, Indian origin lawyer Mathura Sridharan has been appointed as Ohio's 12th Solicitor General. It's a big moment for representation and a proud one for the Indian American community. But the celebration did not last long. Just hours after the announcement, Sridharan, who's a Supreme Court litigator, an MIT and NYU graduate and considered Ohio's top appellate lawyer, found herself at the center of a vicious online trolling. The reason? Her bindi. Yes, you heard that right. Her bindi, which is a traditional Indian dot worn on the forehead, visible in her official photo, caused social media bigots to question her Americanness. Some mocked her name. Others asked, "What's that dot on her forehead?" And some went on as far as to say her culture made her unfit to serve the United States of America. Yes, a bindi on a brilliant lawyer has rattled America. Now, let's take a moment here and talk about the bindi. What is it? For many Hindu women, especially married women, the bindi is not just a piece of decoration. It's a deeply rooted cultural symbol, a symbol of identity, of tradition, of faith. Yes, it has religious significance, but it is also a symbol of blessing and dignity, a reminder to keep God at the center of one's thoughts, a sign of marriage, and at times just a statement of style. It's worn across regions, religions, and generations, and its history goes back centuries, much older than the United States of America itself. So, to act surprised by it, or worse, to mock it, is not just ignorant, it's dangerous. And we have seen this play out before as well. Back in the 1980s in New Jersey, a hate group called the Dot Busters terrorized Indian communities for the same reason, for wearing a bindi. And again, this is not an isolated incident. Just a few weeks ago, New York mayoral contestant Zoran Mamdani was mocked online by a Republican congressman for eating with his hands in a video. We told you about it. Texas Republican Brandon Gill has said, civilized people in America don't eat like this, and if you refuse to adopt Western culture and customs, he said, Mamdani should go back to the third world. Let that sink in. Because this is not just about a bindi or about eating with your hands. This is about a pattern of microaggressions that snowball into something bigger than just bias. Everyday people start feeling emboldened to mock what they don't understand. And that is why stories like this matter. This is not just about Mathura Sridharan. It's about every immigrant child in America who feels compelled to shorten their name. Every woman who's been shamed for carrying her culture with her. And every professional who's been told that his heritage makes him less American. Because here's the truth. The United States of America is a melting pot built on the promise of equality, pluralism, and freedom. And in many functioning democracy, there is no room for bigotry masquerading as patriotism. Ohio's Attorney General Dave Yost said it best. If Mathura Sridharan's name or complexion bothers you, the problem isn't her, it's you. And maybe that's the reminder we all need. Representation isn't a threat, it's rather a win. All right, Russia is escalating its offensive while Ukraine struggles with internal turmoil and mounting battlefield losses. In the past 24 hours, Russian forces launched a major air and drone strike campaign targeting Ukrainian military airfields. Russia's defense ministry said that the attack involved Kinzhal hypersonic ballistic missiles and long-range attack drones. According to their statement, the operation struck all intended targets, majorly damaging airfield infrastructure. Furthermore, Russia stated that Ukraine suffered over 1,100 troop casualties across the front lines during the same period. On the aerial front, Russia unleashed a barrage of 162 drones overnight, including Iranian-made Shahed drones. A Ukrainian drone strike caused a fire and power outage at a railway station in Russia's Volgograd region. Local officials say that the blaze broke out at the Archeda station in Frolovo, with dramatic video showing flames engulfing the facility. Russia's defense ministry said it shot down 61 Ukrainian drones. Overnight, 6 of them in Volgograd alone. Tensions also surged in Crimea, which is Ukraine's domestic intelligence agency. The SBU claimed it destroyed 1 Russian fighter jet and damaged 4 more during an overnight drone operation targeting military aircraft. Russian officials have not confirmed these losses yet, but amid the warfare, there is major movement on the diplomatic front. The Kremlin on Monday said that Russian President Vladimir Putin could meet U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff this week. U.S. President Donald Trump said that Witkoff might travel to Russia on Wednesday or even Thursday.
He may be going, I think next week, Wednesday or Thursday, may be going to Russia. They would like to see him. They've asked that he meet, so we'll see what happens.
Well, according to reports in Russian media, the meeting is likely to happen on Wednesday. Meanwhile, back in Kiev, the war is not just Ukraine's only battle. A sweeping corruption scandal is rocking the country's political and military leadership. Ukraine's National Anti-Corruption Bureau and the Special Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, they both have now dismantled what they describe as a criminal network within the defense procurement system. Investigators say that this network embezzled state funds by inflating contracts for drones and electronic warfare equipment. The fraud reportedly took place between 2024 and 2025, with officials receiving bribes as high as 30% on defense contracts. In some cases, they reportedly charged over $80,000 above market rates for drone supplies. Ukrainian officials have detained 4 key suspects so far. These include a sitting member of parliament, the former head of the Luhansk Regional Military Administration, the head of a city military command, and a senior National Guard officer. Apart from that, the director and beneficiary of a UAV supply company is also implicated. While the identities of the individuals have not been released, the anti-graft operation comes just days after Ukraine's parliament restored the independence of its top corruption-fighting bodies. And that move followed massive public demonstrations against a contentious bill that weakened Ukraine's anti-corruption bodies. Demonstrations that were widely seen as the largest since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war in 2022. Shifting focus, an article in the Guardian newspaper says that US President Donald Trump's frequently bizarre public appearances, as well as his unverified and fact-checked statements, have not gone unnoticed and brought his mental health status under scrutiny. As per the article, from campaign events to interviews to press conferences, Trump has exhibited rather odd and incoherent behavior over a year now, and the signs are embedded in ways more than one. There are cited instances of President Trump drifting off topic repeatedly, including during a cabinet meeting this month. During his recent trip to the United Kingdom, US President Donald Trump's behavior drew attention from some observers. Notably, he spoke at length about windmills around 2 minutes, prompting discussion and speculation. Some critics noted that he made several claims without offering supporting evidence. It's worth noting, however, that Trump is not the first president to face scrutiny over such issues. His predecessor, Joe Biden, also faced questions about his mental health during his time in office, often from Trump and his supporters themselves. California's Governor Gavin Newsom also pointed out at Trump's behavior, for instance, his inability to recollect details about US aid when asked about the famine in Gaza, as well as about other contributions. And the bottom line is this: experts worry that Trump may go down Biden's path as far as his health goes, if not regulated. While right now it's more speculation than facts, the question is, will this hold true? That we'll have to wait and watch. The corridors of power are buzzing with otherworldly whispers. America's Vice President has just thrown down the gauntlet. US Vice President J.D. Vance has declared himself obsessed with UFOs, vowing to unlock the most classified secrets in human history. Take a look.
The veil of government secrecy is finally being torn away. For decades, the public has been told to dismiss the UFO thing as a conspiracy theory, a fringe belief for the gullible. Now, however, The highest corridors of power are speaking out, and the truth is poised to be revealed in a way that could forever change our understanding of our place in the universe. J.D. Vance, the vice president, has admitted he is obsessed with the entire UFO phenomenon and has vowed to use the upcoming congressional recess to get to the bottom of it. The interest in UFOs has been rising. In 2017, a NYT report reignited interest, saying Pentagon has a secret $22 million advanced aerospace threat identification program to investigate UFO sightings. Since then, Congress has held several hearings on UFO sightings. High-level military personnel like David Grush have claimed that the U.S. government possesses craft of non-human origin. Now Vance is doubling down on extraterrestrial investigation, suggesting the truth is more explosive than anyone imagined. But as America's doors creak open, a shiver from the past haunts the debate. In one of his final warnings, astrophysicist Stephen Hawking urged humanity to tread carefully. If aliens ever visit us, he cautioned, the outcome might be similar to when Columbus landed in America, which didn't turn out well for the Native Americans. Hawking didn't doubt the likelihood of alien life, he feared its consequences, reminding us that contact with a civilization millions of years ahead could mean disaster. Clearly, the cosmic countdown has begun. Prepare for revelations that will shatter everything we thought we knew about reality itself.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is doubling down on his military strategy in Gaza. And all this as famine takes hold across the war-torn territory. Netanyahu has rejected calls for a ceasefire and made it clear that hostages held by Hamas will be freed only through force and not through negotiation. According to Israeli media, he now pushes for what he calls a final and decisive military victory in Gaza.
We are in the midst of an intense war in which we have achieved very significant historic accomplishments because we were not divided, because we stood together and fought together. We must continue to stand together and fight together in order to achieve all the war's objectives.
Inside the Knesset, tempers are flaring when families of the hostages demanded answers. A Likud lawmaker reportedly told them, and I'm quoting here, "Shut up," triggering uproar during a parliamentary committee session. Foreign Minister Gideon Saar has called on the United Nations to prioritize the hostages crisis, urging global pressure ahead of a key Security Council meeting. While Israel signals more military escalation, Hamas has issued a conditional offer. The group says it will permit humanitarian aid to reach the Israeli hostages only if Israel immediately halts airstrikes and opens permanent corridors for the delivery of relief. The offer came after Hamas released videos showing two hostages in a distressing state. The footage has sparked global outrage. Israeli officials have accused Hamas of starving the captives intentionally to pressure negotiators. As both the sides trade demands, the humanitarian situation in Gaza is rapidly collapsing. The Gaza Health Ministry reports that 5 more people have died from starvation or malnutrition in just the last 24 hours. And that brings the total number of such deaths since the war began to 180. The United Nations warns that famine is unfolding across Gaza. Food, medicine and clean water remains scarce.
We have had enough. We go to sleep with tears in our eyes, with our sorrow, with illness. We cannot find treatment. We cannot find food. We cannot find drinks. We go to sleep scared, anxious, and worn down. We cannot find a tent to stay in or a house. They didn't leave us a house or children. Everything we get, we have to pay for it with our children. Why? What have we done? We have rights, like other countries, to live.
In northern Gaza, desperate civilians could be seen gathering near the Zikim crossing, waiting for basic supplies that may never arrive. In Jerusalem, Israelis staged demonstrations against the government, calling for an end to the Gaza war. International aid efforts have ramped up but still fall short on Sunday. Military aircraft from Jordan, France, Germany, Belgium and the UAE dropped over 60 tons of humanitarian aid over Gaza. Despite all these deliveries, most of the population remain cut off from food and medical assistance. With no ceasefire in sight, and as Netanyahu talks military victory and Hamas sets new conditions, Gazans continue to face the consequences, day after day, without food, safety or relief.
Anger remains palpable here in Israel over the situation of the hostages. We know that earlier today, the Foreign Minister of Israel in a briefing slammed Hamas and called on international community for the early release of the hostages. The image that has been released by Hamas, the hostage has become the rallying point for the family members especially. And we know that in the briefing, the Foreign Minister also slammed what he termed as the hypocrisy of several Western countries and of course the Western newspapers as well. But in the same briefing, he also extended support to India on the issue of terrorism. In fact, both the Foreign Minister held talks very early on after the Pahalgam terror attack, and terrorism is a major issue in this country ever since the terror attack happened on the 7th of October 2023, and throughout the briefing we saw that being the key focus. With video journalist Neeraj Patel, Siddhant Sibbal at the Israeli Foreign Ministry.
Let's tell you what else landed for you on the show tonight. Well, we will tell you about the China-Russia joint military drills and what it could signal to the West. From India, we will tell you about the anti-terror operation codenamed Akal, which has entered its 4th day in the dense forests of Kulgam in Jammu and Kashmir. And stay with us. The long-awaited male birth control breakthrough has just cleared a major hurdle. Could it change everything? Stay tuned for that report. China and Russia are joining hands, launching one of the world's largest joint military drills. This comes at a time when tensions between the US and Russia have increased to heights unseen since the Cold War. Beijing and Washington are locked into a fierce trade war. Our next report telling you more.
Missiles launch, destroyers slice through the sea, and fighter jets scream across the sky. This isn't war, not yet. But it's what war would look like if China and Russia fought side by side. And now they're practicing exactly that. Over thousands of troops, dozens of warships, submarines and aircraft from both countries gathered for massive joint military drills in the Sea of Japan, a region bristling with geopolitical tension. The drills include live fire exercises, anti-submarine operations, air defense and simulated amphibious landings. Warships prowled the waves, while jets executed low-altitude formation strikes. Beijing and Moscow say the drills are part of the annual cooperation plan between the two militaries.
Both sides will conduct their 6th joint naval patrol in relevant waters of the Pacific. This is part of the annual cooperation plan between the Chinese and Russian militaries. It is not directed against third parties and is unrelated to the current international or regional situation.
But the optics are obvious. The timing not accidental. These war games come as the US deepens alliances in the Pacific, bolstering Japan, South Korea, the Philippines and Australia in what Beijing sees as a tightening net. Moscow, on the other hand, is locked in a grinding confrontation with NATO over Ukraine. China and Russia, sensing the strategic encirclement, are making their move loudly. The No Limits partnership between China and Russia, announced just before the Ukraine war, only keeps expanding. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
In India, massive anti-terror operations are underway in Jammu and Kashmir's Kulgam for the 4th consecutive day. 8 have been killed in 3 separate operations in the past week. Codenamed Operation Akal, started on Friday after the Army, Jammu and Kashmir Police and CRPF launched the joint operation. The encounter started after forces received a tip-off about terrorists in the forested region of South Kashmir. 3 terrorists have been killed so far. 1 terrorist was killed in the initial shootout. Later, 2 more were gunned down. Officials say only 1 body has been recovered due to intense gun battle. Meanwhile, 3 personnel have sustained injuries during the exchange of fire there. Troops are advancing cautiously as terrorists remain well entrenched. Forces have deployed drones and helicopters to locate and target them. And this is the 3rd encounter in the last 1 week. Earlier, 3 terrorists who were behind Pahalgam massacre were killed in a planned Operation Mahadev by the security forces. Union Home Minister Amit Shah told Parliament that 3 were identified as Pakistani terrorists who had carried out brutal killings of 26 innocent people in Pahalgam on April 22nd.
Security forces in Jammu and Kashmir have intensified their operations in the last 2 weeks. Operation Akal continues in South Kashmir's Kulgam district for the 4th consecutive day. So far, 3 terrorists have been killed in the gunfight, but only 1 body of the terrorist has been retrieved from the operation site. Security forces have now pushed in helicopters and drones to locate the hiding terrorist. On the other hand, last Monday, there was an operation in Lidwas area of Dachigam where 3 terrorists of Lashkar-e-Toiba who were involved in the Pahalgam terror attack were gunned down by security forces. There was another operation in Poonch sector, where two infiltrators who were trying to infiltrate into Jammu and Kashmir were neutralized by security forces on the line of control. With video journalist Firoz Idris Loan for WION World is One.
Well, Russia is gearing up to treat cancer patients with what could become one of the world's first personalized mRNA cancer vaccines, a treatment tailored to each patient's unique tumor. The announcement marks a key moment in what's shaping up to be a global race to beat cancer using next-gen technology. According to Russian news outlets, Russia's first patients could begin receiving the newly developed cancer vaccine within the next few months. The breakthrough drug is a personalized AI-assisted mRNA-based vaccine that has been designed to target malignant tumors using the patient's own genetic data. Russia's Gamaleya Center is responsible for making the vaccine, while patient trials will be conducted by the partnering clinics. Alexander Ginsberg, the director of the Gamaleya Research Institute, said that the experimental phase of administering the treatment will start in the coming months, in cooperation with the two leading oncology institutions, which are the Herzen Research Institute and the Blokhin Cancer Center in Moscow. The treatment works by training the patient's immune system to recognize tumor-specific proteins and then destroy the malignant cells throughout the body using cytotoxic lymphocytes. It is a type of white blood cell that plays a crucial role in the immune system by identifying and destroying infected or cancerous cells. Now, due to its individualized nature, the cancer vaccine is subject to a unique regulatory framework adopted by the Russian government earlier this year. The vaccine, which was initially designed for melanoma patients, has now already shown promising results in animal trials and limited tests on human patients. The director previously stated that the entire procedure from analyzing the tumor to creating a tailored vaccine can be completed in about a week, and that's with the help of AI. The Gamaleya Center, which created the world's first registered COVID-19 vaccine, the Sputnik V, is also currently developing models for treating other oncological diseases, including pancreatic, kidney, and non-small cell lung cancer. Russia's health ministry estimates that there are around 4 million cancer patients in the country, with roughly 625,000 new cases diagnosed annually. The cancer vaccine could rather become a major milestone in Russia's public health strategy if it proves safe and effective during the upcoming trial phase. But Russia is not alone. Several other countries are racing to lead the future of cancer vaccines. To name some, the UK has its own nationwide cancer vaccine launchpad, and that's through its NHS. Trials for lung cancer in the UK are already underway. Meanwhile, in the US, over 700 clinical trials are in progress. Companies like Moderna and BioNTech are showing early success as well in treating pancreatic cancer. One vaccine helped half its test patients live beyond 3 years. Apart from UK and US, Germany's BioNTech is partnering with global hospitals to accelerate its autogene cevumeran vaccine using mRNA to personalize shots and delay cancer recurrence. And in India, trials are underway for Serum Institute's indigenous HPV cervical cancer vaccine, Cervavac. Cancer is the second leading cause of death worldwide, with over 20 million new cases expected globally this year. So, of course, the race to personalized treatment is urgent. If successful, mRNA cancer vaccines could enter mainstream treatment within 2 to 3 years, turning a patient's own immune system into the most powerful medicine yet. Well, after decades of stalled research and failed trials, the long wait for a safe male contraceptive pill may finally be nearing an end. Scientists have just completed a first-of-its-kind safety trial And the results could change the future of birth control as we know it. A new male contraceptive pill that does not use artificial hormones or interfere with testosterone has successfully cleared phase 1 human safety trials. Previously, male birth control methods often came with a price. To name some: mood swings, acne, loss of libido, or irreversible infertility. But this new drug called YCT529 targets a receptor in the test called retinoic acid receptor alpha and is already shown promising and fully reversible results in animal studies. In this first trial, 16 healthy male volunteers took 2 doses of the drugs across different strengths, and they were monitored for 15 days. The results, if you may ask: no changes in hormone levels, no serious side effects, and no impact on mood. The results of the trial were published in the journal Communications Medicine, and the drug YCT529 has been developed in collaboration with Columbia University in New York and Your Choice Therapeutics, which is a biopharmaceutical company conducting clinical trials. Now, for years, we've seen that condoms and vasectomies have been the only options for men. And condoms, mind you, have a failure rate of up to 18%, while vasectomies, though effective, are not easily reversible. This new pill could finally shift the burden of contraception from women and lead to shared responsibility in birth control. But there's still a long road ahead. Phase 2 trials are already underway with larger groups of men and longer monitoring periods. And phase 3 will test effectiveness, reversibility, and long-term side effects in hundreds of participants. If successful, this pill could mark a historic breakthrough in reproductive health, offering men the first truly viable option for non-hormonal contraception. Still early days, but science may finally be catching up in making birth control everyone's responsibility. Shifting focus to India now, heavy rains and flood fury have gripped the country across its length and breadth. Heavy showers and flash floods have been reported in several North Indian states such as Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, with Indian Met Department predicting more showers in the upcoming days. Bihar's capital, Patna, continues to reel under intense rain and waterlogging. In places like Kanpur and Varanasi, people have been seen wading through knee and waist deep water, while water levels rose to alarming levels in ghats of Rishikesh and Varanasi.
लोगों को घाट की तरफ जाने से और जो इस तरह के संवेदनशील क्षेत्र है वहां पे जाने से रोका जा रहा है और लगातार जो है उसको अनाउंसमेंट के माध्यम से लोगों को सजग करने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है.
Floodwaters from both the Ganga and Yamuna rivers submerged parts of UP's Prayagraj, with water levels rising 1 meter above the danger mark. And in an unique incident, a video of a sub-inspector paying respects to the holy floodwaters went viral. Reports also suggest floods in Prayagraj broke the record made in 2013, reaching about 150 localities in the city and the rural areas. In capital city New Delhi, frequent rains have lashed several parts of the city. And this has led to waterlogging and disruptions in commute. The IMD has forecast heavy to moderate rains and more wet spell till the end of the week. And further north, heavy rains in Himachal Pradesh have affected normal life. As per reports by the State Emergency Operations Centre, a total of 184 people have died since June 20th, with 36 individuals still missing. In Kullu district, a cloudburst triggered flash floods and landslides and submerging a great deal of the hilly areas, blocking key roads, knocking out over 100 power transformers and also disrupting drinking water facilities. Reports further suggest that the government of Himachal has suffered a loss of more than rupees 1,700 crore, and that's in the ongoing monsoon fury. A yellow alert has been issued for Kangra, Mandi, Solan and Sirmaur, with more rain expected across several districts in Himachal Pradesh. In Shimla, a landslide at Pantaghati sent debris crashing into nearby shops. Meanwhile, in Solan district, a highway remained blocked for over 2 hours, stranding dozens of vehicles. However, it's not just North India which has been affected from heavy rainfall. In the south, orange and yellow alerts have been issued for Kerala through August 8th. In Karnataka, widespread rainfall is expected over the next week, with a similar forecast issued for Lakshadweep. Plastics. Hope I have your attention now. A new expert review has warned that plastics are a grave, growing and under-recognized danger to human and planetary health. It also gave a fair warning that the world is undergoing a plastics crisis, which is the root of disease and death from infancy to old age. The review, published in the leading medical journal, The Lancet, sheds light on the fact that plastics are responsible for at least $1.5 trillion a year in health-related damages. And that's huge. As per the study, a huge impetus on plastic production, which has risen nearly by more than 200 times since 1950, is behind this mounting crisis, especially the rapid rise in use of single-use plastics. Now, since drinking bottles, fast food containers and other usables these days are all manufactured from plastics, leading to a rise in pollution. With 8 billion tons now polluting the entire planet, and that's as per the review, and there is no escaping this. What's more, as per the study, from the top of Mount Everest to the deepest ocean trench, less than 10% of plastic is recycled, which means most used and disposed plastics feed into respective ecosystems and threaten the ecology. Reports suggest that annual global plastic production has reached 460 million tons, generating nearly as much waste and alarming experts. So what's the solution right now? To combat this crisis, delegates from over 170 countries are convening in Geneva, Switzerland, from August 5th to August 14th to draft a legally binding global treaty on plastic pollution. Will anything substantial come out of it? That we'll have to wait and watch. Well, in a landmark moment for British and Anglican church history, the church in Wales has paved the way for greater inclusivity by appointing its first openly gay archbishop. Cherry Wan is also the first female archbishop of the United Kingdom. The newly appointed Archbishop of Wales recently opened up about her personal and professional challenges that she faced while hiding her sexuality for decades as she rose through the ranks of the church. Wan further said that without the strong belief that God had called her to the priesthood, she would not have survived her journey through the ranks of the church. Well, born in 1958 in central England, Wan was ordained in the Church of England in 1994 and served in the Diocese of Manchester for more than 2 decades. In 2020, she was appointed as the Bishop of Monmouth by the Church in Wales, after which she publicly disclosed her civil partnership with Wendy Diamond, her partner for 30 years, for the first time. In an interview, the newly appointed Archbishop said, and I'm quoting here, "For years, we kept our relationship a secret because I was worried about waking up and finding myself outed on the front page of a newspaper. Now, Wendy joins me everywhere while I take services. It's just normal," unquote. In an interview with The Guardian, the new Archbishop opened up about her past and said that in the 1990s, she had a small group of female priests who began meeting regularly with male colleagues for prayer and all some kind of conversation. However, they faced constant criticism for this. However, with time, the hostility towards their action reduced. WION has said that she hopes this experience offers a lesson for current debates around sexuality. The new Archbishop's top priority right now is healing and reconciliation, where she has said that she wants to work to build trust with those who have been hurt in the past. All around the world of sports now, victories always taste sweet, but some taste even sweeter, and India's dramatic win at the Oval was one such moment. In our next report, we break down how India snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. England were moments away from victory when rain and poor light ended play on day 4. On the final day of the series deciding test match at the Oval, the hosts needed just 35 runs to win. India needed 3.5 wickets because Chris Woakes, battling a dislocated shoulder, was expected to bat last purely for formality. The odds were heavily stacked against India, but they believed. Siraj, who had promised himself that he would turn the game around, did just that. He struck in the first over of the day, dismissing Jamie Smith. England was 7 down, still needing 27 more. And Siraj wasn't done. The man leading India's attack in the absence of Bumrah delivered again in his next over, sending Jamie overturned packing. His partner in crime, Prasidh Krishna, then chipped in to make it 9 down, and India just 1 wicket away from a famous victory. Woakes got a standing ovation when he walked out to bat with his left hand in a sling. It should have been easy for India from there on. Target Woakes and get the result, but the drama was far from over in London. The tension at the Oval was electric as Gus Atkinson swung his bat to take England closer to victory. Atkinson not only survived, he ensured that he faces all the deliveries. But his grit fell flat in front of Siraj's. Siraj returned with fire and bowled Atkinson with a pinpoint yorker to give India their narrowest victory in terms of runs in a test. It was a perfect end to a thrilling 5-match test series where all 5 tests in the series have gone to the final day. Indian skipper Shubman Gill was named India's player of the series. Gill was the leading run scorer of the 5-match series, finishing with 754 runs in 10 innings at an average of 75.40. Meanwhile, Harry Brook was selected as England's player of the series for 481 runs in 9 innings.
This morning kind of summarize what this team is all about. 70 odd runs, 7 wickets in hand. The way Brook and Root were going, not many teams in the world would have given themselves a chance. But this team believes that, whenever we have some kind of an opening, we can get through that opening. And that's what we were talking about once Brook was out and then we got early wicket of Bethel, that this is our opening. Let's try to build pressure on them.
It's been, toe-to-toe pretty much, for 25 days. 2 very good teams who have, thrown everything at each other, left nothing out there. So I guess from a cricket fan's point of view, you sort of go 2-2 is probably fair. Obviously, we're disappointed now to have not got the result that we wanted to give us a series win. So there's obviously that, disappointment, a little bit of frustration there as well from everyone.
And with that, we slip into a very short break, leaving you with Gravitas Worldview. Thanks very much for staying with us. You are watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@sach